Maine South High School, directly under the flight path to Chicago's O'Hare Airport. It's otherwise a quiet suburban school. If you were searching for a time and place that shaped the now presidential candidate, here's not a bad place to start. It's not that different from when the school first opened back in 1964, when Clinton, then Hillary Rodham, was a senior. Clinton's story here suggests in many ways she was already a leader, elected in her final year, the most likely to succeed. She was involved in everything, motivated, studious, hardworking. Cheryl Harbour graduated with Clinton. She points to early clues of Clinton's drive. She remembers her classmate as, well, busy.
Here's one here. This is a science award. Here was National Honor Society, the academic team. There's her graduation picture. And I would say that she had a strong drive that was similar to other people. I think hers kept getting stronger, and I think she had a pretty serious focus during high school, whereas a lot of people that were active were more in it for the social reasons. So here is our senior section. She's in this photo, so am I. We're right almost next to each other.
Cheryl, at the time Cheryl Acton, was part of a crew of good friends that included Clinton. There was also Betsy Johnson and Judy Price. Together, they shared an experience of young women growing up at this time, products of a 1950s old world, but on the approach of a women's movement, and for them, a sense of infinite possibility. They still live not far from their old high school.
Well, I go to Washington, D.C. on Tuesday.
Cheryl, Betsy, and Judy all have families and separate lives, but on occasion they huddle and contemplate. How could it be someone, once one of them, is now in a presidential race? Like Clinton, they are the grandmothers of today. But before that, the generation of women who were the first to get college degrees and head into the workplace in huge numbers. For these women, this week holds a whole other level of meaning.
That's the correct one, everyone.
You didn't necessarily, unless you were Judy, get married right away.
They remember a nurturing place growing up, though it was clear when it came to gender, there were differences.
Who always won as president of student council?
Well, that's true.
What did you have to be in order to win as president of student council?
I think that I know
a
that's...
boy. A boy, there we go.
Boy. Yeah.
You worked for Jackie. You wanted her to win. Hillary ran. They didn't win because they were girls.
So there were things that boys did and things that girls did. And I never dawned on me to think about it in terms of
being deprived,
equal or being deprived, or it was just the way it was, and
it was how we also viewed the outside world.
Yeah,
it really didn't enter into our lives. So
the strange thing about those of us who are boomers is that we grew up in the old world. We grew up in a world where we were told to, ask the boy about his interests, and where we didn't have real professional aspirations because the only thing that a girl could be was a secretary, a nurse, or a teacher.
I'm a reporter, and the way that I see this issue often framed...
Leslie Bennett is a veteran journalist and author. She has written about Hillary Clinton and covered women's issues since the 70s.
And then all of a sudden it was like somebody flipped a switch and the whole world changed overnight. And that our generation, we were going to law school, we were going to medical school, we were becoming journalists and doing all these things that women had never done before. So it was a very exhilarating time. And the message in the air was you can go and do these things that women have never done before.
Clinton took the cue. Her friends remember a person who saw no boundaries and left their secure Illinois suburb. There were visits to colleges in the East with Clinton's cantankerous father at the wheel.
Hill's dad would drive us, and he would chew tobacco. So he would drive, he had that big old Lincoln, and he would drive that, and we'd pull up to a stoplight, and the door would open, spit, close the door, and then he'd wait for us, and we'd go in and go, and you'd have to wear white gloves. Remember, we never went any place without heels and white gloves, and so they talked her into Wellesley.
Well, she was ready, and it wasn't a safe choice exactly because it was a whole different world there. But I'd say that would be one place where we knew that Hillary was going places.
Part of the problem with just empathy with professed goals is that empathy doesn't do us anything. We've had lots of empathy, we've had lots of sympathy.
The speech to her graduating class at Wellesley, cementing her young fame.
Art of the possible.
Only recently, this bit of audio released. Curious to hear Clinton's voice at that age, her ideas jumbled at times, still self-assured.
The question about possible and impossible was one that we brought with us to Wellesley 4 years ago. We arrived not yet knowing what was not possible. Consequently, we
She'd
expect
give this
a lot.
speech today.
I know.
She jumped right in
use
too,
it.
didn't she?
Are easily understood, having grown up, having come to consciousness in the first 5 years of this decade. Years dominated by men with dreams, men in the civil rights movement, the Peace Corps.
It's not a timid speech
So we arrived at Wellesley.
for a
And we
young
found,
woman
as
to
all
be
of us
addressing
found,
an
that there
audience
was a
at
gap
large. It's
between
pretty bold.
But it wasn't a discouraging gap, and it didn't turn us, into cynical, bitter old women at the age of 18.
Clinton's confidence and ambition mark her student days and much of her career. Those traits have also been mocked, some analysts comparing Clinton to the fictional character Tracy Flick. In the film Election, a dark satire about high school politics, Flick is the ultimate overachiever.
I believe in the voters. They understand that elections aren't just popularity contests.
While fun is meant in the comparison, many believe it's proof America has a problem with women and ambition.
Tracy.
Ethics are rules of conduct.
Tracy Flick. Tracy Flick. I'd seen a lot of ambitious students come and go over the years, but Tracy Flick, she was a special case.
Some people say I'm an overachiever, but I think they're just jealous.
Of course it's sexist, but the truth is in life we have a terrible time with high-achieving women. We just don't know what to do about them, so we want to reduce them to being a Tracy Flick character. You're allowed to try hard if it's like improving your appearance, for example. There's no limit to how much you're supposed to work in terms of, dieting and, perfecting your abs. But we don't like women who try too hard on things where they might outshine the boys. And I think that's a shame because a woman like that who is so driven to excellence, we should be saying, isn't that great? You go, girl. Let's give her credit for what she's achieved. But instead, we're always trying to knock her down a peg.
In Focus is a weekly public affairs presentation of Channel 8 Television.
Clinton, by now married and living in Arkansas with Governor Bill Clinton, spoke with a local TV program in 1979. It's a very early, revealing glimpse of the now presidential candidate negotiating issues of career and public life.
You're not a native. You've been educated in liberal Eastern universities. You're less than 40. You don't have any children. You don't use your husband's name. You practice law. Does it concern you that maybe other people feel that you don't fit the image that we have created for the governor's wife in Arkansas?
That doesn't bother me, and I hope that it doesn't bother very many people. I think that, in a way, it's kind of a tribute to the state that someone who may or may not fit an image is accepted on her own terms.
I, William Jefferson Clinton, do solemnly swear that I will faithfully
1993, and the thrill of a new president.
That I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States. Congratulations.
First Lady Hillary Clinton takes an active role, advising her husband a 2-for-the-price-of-1 presidency. Looking back now, it's a walk through 90s trivia. Whitewater, Travelgate, Troopergate, Monica, Ken Starr, a brutal political atmosphere. But it's Clinton's behavior, her way of responding, that's the takeaway here. A defensive, secretive posture that hinders her career for decades after.
I do not know how the billing records came to be found where they were found.
As the scandals were billowing around Clinton, the White House made an effort to explain her part, define her in a better light. They offered rare access to Vanity Fair journalist Leslie Bennett's.
If you feel that you're constantly under siege, that all these people are gunning for you, that they're completely unfair, that they blow everything out of proportion, I think what you get is an excess of this defensive caution and increasingly what people have perceived as inauthenticity on her part. I referred to it once as an embattled crouch, but there's just this defensive posture that unfortunately I think has led her to make significant errors in judgment.
God, the woman has feelings, for crying out loud. They say terrible things about her, horrible things.
She's said many times that you need a thick skin, and I think she does, but I also think that's not an impenetrable skin. Stuff hurts.
And the future will be better than the past.
In today's presidential campaign, echoes of past scandals and Clinton's response. Aware she has a problem with transparency and trust, the campaign is trying to address the flaw.
A lot of people tell pollsters they don't trust me. Now, I don't like hearing that. And it certainly is true. I've made mistakes. I don't know anyone who hasn't. So I understand people having questions.
Still, in walling off the media the way they have, she hasn't given a press conference in more than 7 months. There are real risks.
Journalist J. Newton Small covers Clinton's campaign for Time magazine and just released a book about women and power, including a chapter on Clinton. She is one of the few journalists allowed a one-on-one with the candidate in a campaign that's otherwise wary of media.
Showing her real self, I think, feels almost like a vulnerability, and one that she doesn't want to sort of let her real self through, because that would then be open to attack, and I think that just feels too vulnerable and too raw. And so she presents to the world this very made-up face, this very kind of polished Hillary, and that's a real problem for them, because when running for president, authenticity really does matter, and finding a way to make her authentic has been very much the challenge of this campaign.
Question is, can her real strengths overcome her definite flaws? She could promote more forcefully her appeal as a woman, but while a feature of the campaign, she hasn't actually gone there. As Donald Trump might say, play the woman card.
I think she wants to win fair and square. I think she wants to win because people have to just finally throw up their hands and say she's a better candidate and she'd make a better president. I don't think she wants to win because, oh, she's the girl and, so it's time to give a girl a chance. She wants to really win it on, the toughest terms there are, which is may the better man win. But this time the better man might be a woman.
Tonight's victory is not about one person. It belongs to generations of women and men who struggled and sacrificed and made this moment possible.
For Clinton's crew of loyal friends in Park Ridge, and for most women of her age group, there's a feeling they've walked this walk with her. And if elected America's next president, perhaps they played a part in her win.
We'll take credit for it, totally. 100% credit.